Hello students, welcome to a new session, and today we'll be starting with a new chapter, that is movement in animals and plants. So in the previous chapter you have studied all about the cells, why are they known as a structural and functional unit. Then in the next chapter, that is organization, you have studied that how different cells they work together to form tissues and then organs, and how the level of complexity increases. So now when an organism is formed, that particular organism has to move from one place to another place in search of food, shelter, and for its own habitat. So movement is one of the characteristic feature of all the living things, that is the plants, animals, and human beings. Now movement is again of two types, that plants can only show movement, that is they cannot change their position from one place to another, but they can show a little movement in the direction of the growth, in the direction of the blooming of the flowers. That is, for example, the sunflower, it turns towards the sunlight, so this is movement. And when we talk about locomotion, locomotion is the change of place from one point to the another point, and locomotion is shown by animals and human beings, insects, and all the other living organisms. So there is a difference between movement and locomotion. Movement and locomotion both can be shown by animals and human beings, but only movement can be shown by plants, and plants cannot show locomotion. So this movement and locomotion, as I said, is because of in the need of shelter, food, for environment. Also the animals show locomotion and movement because they have to protect themselves from their prey. They have to change their habitat from one place to another for a better breeding environment. In this session, we'll be studying about the movement that is shown by many organisms, that is your bacteria, your unicellular organisms, your multicellular organism, your fishes, your birds. So starting with the session, creeping movement in amoeba. Now here we are talking about unicellular organisms. We know that the cells, they are unicellular also, they are multicellular also. So unicellular organisms, when we will talk about the bacteria, they do not have a definite shape, they do not have legs, still they show movement. So what type of movement do they show? They show creeping movement. What do you understand by creeping? Creeping is the movement that is shown when a body is stuck onto the ground and it just moves on the surface only. In these amoeba, they don't have legs, but they have finger-like projections, which you must know are known as pseudopodia. Now these pseudopodia, these are false legs which are seen in the amoeba. So amoeba is a very simple unicellular organisms which is found in fresh water such as ponds. One thing more you have to remember, that they do not have any shape. It moves by protruding its body in the desired direction. So this is the type of movement that it shows. The finger-like projections of its body are known as the pseudopodia. What do you understand by the term pseudopodia? Now what do you understand by pseudopodia? So pseudo means false and podia means legs. So these amoeba, they make false legs, that is the outgrowth of your body in the direction where they have to move. So this is the amoeba, alright, it does not have any shape, it forms pseudopodia. So these are the pseudopodia. These pseudopodia, they help the amoeba in the direction of movement. And when amoeba has to change its direction, like if it's moving to the right side, then the pseudopodia will extend on the right side. But now when the amoeba has to move in a vertical direction, what happens is the outgrowth doesn't happen in the right direction, but the pseudopodia on the left side starts protruding and the amoeba can change its direction from one place to another. After amoeba, coming to the swimming, which is the next type of movement that is shown by the unicellular organism. This swimming movement is shown by euglena and paramecium. So you have to remember the name of the unicellular organisms. So euglena are the unicellular organisms which are oval in shape. They have a thread-like extensions at the anterior end of their body, and this thread-like extension is known as flagella. Now this flagella is responsible for the movement in euglena. What happens is the flagella, it pulls the euglena in the direction of movement. So wherever the flagella moves, the euglena can move according to the direction. Coming to the movement of the paramecium, euglena had one hair-like extension, but this paramecium, it has extensions all over the body. Paramecium has a long elongated body and it has cilia present all over the body. So this is somewhat the structure of the paramecium. It also has nucleus, has other organelles, it has cytoplasm. So this is the structure of the paramecium. Now the cilia present on the paramecium, they pull themselves backwards, and when they pull themselves backwards, there is a movement in the fluid, and when the cilia pull backwards, the paramecium goes up in the direction. So along with the direction in the straight axis, the paramecium can change its direction also from one place to another, because the cilia are always changing their direction obliquely. So along with the straight movement, they can also rotate on the axis because of the movement of the cilia present all over the body of the paramecium. Then after the swing movement comes to the bending movement. Now these bending movements, they are seen in the hydra only. By the name bending, you must know that is molding the shape. So this type of movement is shown in hydra. Hydra is an aquatic animal which is found in the ponds and lakes, mostly near the stones. It is stuck on the stones. It is attached to the stone, submerged aquatic plants, etc. It has many flexible and delicate tentacles at its free end. So the structure of a hydra, so this is the structure of the hydra. It has many free ends. These are known as the tentacles, which help the hydra in movement. This is the substratum or the basal body of the hydra. Now this hydra shows two types of locomotory movement. It shows locomotory movement, that is, it can change a position from point A to point B. And these type of movements, the first one is looping and the second one is somersaulting. So hydra can do locomotion by two methods. Coming to the first method, that is looping. By the name, it can form loops and change its position. As you can see in the diagram, so this is this hydra. These are the free ends, that is the tentacles. So what happens is, the substratum is fixed to the ground. The hydra bends its body, the tentacles get attached to the ground. When the tentacles get attached, it pulls the body towards itself. It forms a loop, and when the loop is formed, again the hydra is upright. So this type of movement is known as looping movement. It is bending, forming a loop, pulling the body towards itself, and again coming in upright position. So this is how looping movement happens. Now when coming to somersaulting, somersaulting is a 360 rotation of your body. Here what happens is, first of all, the hydra bends, the tentacles get attached to the ground. Now when the tentacles get attached to the ground, the body, instead of pulling the body towards itself, the substratum becomes erect, and the substratum, when it becomes erect, it again moves towards the ground. The substratum gets attached to the ground, and again the hydra are free. So that is a 360 rotation of your body occurs in somersaulting, and in looping only 180-degree rotation occurs of the substratum. After the bending movement of the hydra, coming to the crawling movement of the earthworm. Now here we are starting with the multicellular organisms mainly. So earthworm is an insect. Earthworm has a segmented body. It has a pair of muscles, longitudinal and circular muscles, and the segments which are known as the setae. So you have to remember the segments, a term that is setae. And these earthworms, they show locomotion with the help of muscles, which are of two types, circulatory and longitudinal. So what happens is, when the circulatory muscle contracts, the body becomes thick, and when the longitudinal muscles contract, the body becomes thick, and then the muscles relaxes. So this constant contraction and relaxation leads to the movement of the earthworm from one place to another, and the type of motion is crawling motion. After earthworm, coming to the starfish, which also shows the crawling movement. But the only difference is these starfish, they have tentacles which are present all over the surface of your body. So if this is the starfish, it has tentacles which are present all over the surface of your body. Now these tentacles, they help the starfish to crawl over the ground as well as to adhere itself to the stones and the other structures present. Then coming to the floating, swimming and leaping movements in the frog. Now frog is an amphibian. It is an amphibian, so it lives both in water, mainly for reproduction, and on land for its food. So when in water, it shows floating and swimming movement, and when present on land, it shows leaping movement. What happens in the floating movement is that the eyes and the head region of the frog, it remains above the ground, which helps the frog to breathe and to visualize its enemy. And in the swimming motion, what happens is the hind legs of the frog, it extends the hind legs, and because of the webbed feet, it helps them in swimming. It gives resistance, it gives a push to its body, and then the frog can move in a forward direction. Then coming to the leaping movement of the frog, what happens in the leaping movement? It mainly occurs when the frog is present on the land. The hind limbs, which are usually Z shape. So when the frog is sitting, the hind limbs are usually Z shape. The forelimbs of the frog, it helps to protect the frog when it is landing on the surface. So the Z limb, the hind limbs which are of Z shape, they extend. The frog jumps from one place to another. It takes a leap. The forelimbs protect the frog from the surface, and then again the frog settles down on another surface and is ready for the next leap. So this is how the process of leaping occurs in frog. Then coming to swimming movements in a fish. Now fish are a totally aquatic animals. Their only motion is swimming, and this swimming, it occurs with the help of fins, with the help of tail. Now fins which are present in the fish, they are also paired and unpaired. The paired limbs are the forelimbs which are present anteriorly. The unpaired limbs are the fins which are present on the midrib, on the dorsal and the ventral side, and then the tail fin. A fish swims with the help of fins and a tail. It bears two types of fins: paired fins on the right and the left side, and unpaired, that is the median fin, which is present on the back side. The paired fins are shoulder fins, pectoral, that is present on the anterior or the head side, and the pair of hip fins or the pelvic fins which are present near the tail region. The unpaired fins or single fins, also called the median fins, are dorsal fins on the top middle trunk, which is very much visible in the sharks, the ventral fin on the lower side, and the tail fin on the tail. So these are the paired and unpaired fins which we have to remember, which help in the motion of the fish. Now coming to the diagrammatic representation of the fish. Now fish, they have a streamlined body. Why a streamlined body? To give less resistance to the water currents and proper swing motion of the fishes. Now they have both the paired and the unpaired fins. The paired fins are the anterior fins, that is on the left and the right side, the pelvic fins present on the left and the right side, pelvic and pectoral. Then coming to the unpaired fins, the fins which is present on the median side, the posterior fin, the tail fin known as the caudal fin, the anal fin. So these are the unpaired fins. So the tail helps in to change the direction of the fish from one place to another. So it acts as a rudder. Rudder helps in the changing of the direction. So this tail fin helps in the change of direction. The fins, they help to decrease the resistance and a forward motion in the fishes. Forward movement, because of the body and the tail, the fish primarily swims forward by means of side to side movements. It has fins, so those fins, they move side to side, and because of this side to side movement, the fish can move in a forward direction. Particularly the tail, when the tail moves, the tail fin pushes the water sideward and backward, and fish moves forward. So it's a tail, so it pushes the water left and right, and because of that, the fish can change its direction from left side to the right side. The median fins, that is the unpaired fins which are present in the body, help the fish for balancing. The paired fins which are present, that is the pelvic and the pectoral fins present on the left and the right side, they help to swim downward and upward to maintain the body at rest, to act as brakes or to slow down. Then steering means to change the direction from one place to another. The change in direction results due to the combined effect of the tail and the paired fins. Now coming to the movements of the birds. Birds fly with the help of the wings. Now these wings are what? These are the collection of feathers. Birds have a hollow body. They have a hollow skeletal structure. The bones are very much hollow. Because of that, the weight is very less, and that is why the birds are able to fly. Now birds fly with the help of change in pressure, with the help of wings, the motion of the wings, and that is how the birds can move from one place to another. Most birds fly in the air with the help of their wings. Some birds like ducks can also swim in water, and ostrich can run very fast with the help of their long legs. Flying, there are two principal types of flying in the birds, flapping and gliding. Flapping means constant motion of the wings is known as flapping. Gliding is the birds can uphold their wings in a particular direction and can glide on a very steep slope, that is upward to downward or downward to upward, in which the wings are held stretched in a motionless state. In gliding state, the wings are in motionless state, but in flapping, the wings move up and down. In flapping flight, there are two principal strokes, the downstroke and the upstroke. When the birds, if there is a wing and when the bird does a downstroke, it means the bird is moving upward. When the bird does the upstroke, it means the bird is moving downwards, and vice versa. So this is how the bird show movement. When it is doing the upstroke, it means the bird is going upwards, and when it is showing downstroke, it means, and when it is showing upstroke, it means the bird is coming downwards. And then comes the steering movement. The steering movement is, that is the steering movement is, the gliding movement is, that is the wings are held motionless and upheld. So flight in the birds, downstrokes are A and B, upstroke are from C to E of the wings during flapping movements, and this is the start of the upstroke. So this is how the bird starts upstroke. The whole pressure, the wings are pushed downwards, the pressure is equalized, and then the bird is moved in a upward direction. Now coming to insects, they also fly in the air with the help of paired wings only. They do not have feathers. Now with the help of wings only in the lateral directions, these wings help in flapping movement, that is downstroke, upstroke, and help in the movement of insects, or they help the insects to fly from one place to another. Insects like butterflies, grasshopper, etc. also fly in the air with the help of their wings. Most insects have two pair of wings, the forewings and the hind wings. Forewings, that are the wings present in the anterior direction. Hind wings are present in the posterior direction. Some insects like houseflies, mosquitoes have only one pair of wings. There are some insects such as silverfish, headlice, which have no wings and cannot fly. Such insects simply move with the help of legs. So this is a butterfly. It has four wings and hind limbs. So it also does the function of upstroke and downstroke, which help the butterfly to move from one place to another. Then coming to bats, bats are the mammals. Mammal, that is they do not lay their eggs, but they give birth to their young ones. So they are the only mammals which can fly. Their four limbs, that is the posterior limbs, posterior legs are modified into wings. Their arms and hands form the framework, that is the framework of the wings, which helps them in flying. The skin stretches like a membranous sheet. Between the limbs there is a membranous sheet, which you will see in the diagram, that elongates, that exists between the elongated fingers and even the hind legs. The fingers support the wings somewhat like the ribs of an umbrella. They open and close the membrane. So these are the limbs, the four limbs. These are the hind limbs. This is the membranous extension. Just like we open an umbrella, so there is a sheet which supports the extension of the umbrella. Same is the case here. This is the membranous sheet which is supporting the limbs. So these membranous sheet, they close and they open, and when they close and open, it helps in the movement of bats from one place to another. And by this we come to the end of this session. In this session we have studied mainly about the movements of unicellular organism, the creeping, the crawling movement, the movement of amoeba, euglena, paramecium, hydra, which shows two type of movement, that is looping and somersaulting. Then we have also discussed about the movements in the unicellular organism, for example swimming in the fish, flying in the birds and bats, but then the crawling movement which exists in the earthworms. So that is all for this session. Thank you so much.